Obey up against RivaL. That's going to be the next set that we're taking a look at. And it's so important. RivaL, if they drop it, it's hard to come back from 3 and 4, especially because everyone else has at least 5 wins that you're trying to catch back up to. It would require so many losses from at least one team that you have a tiebreaker against as well, right? It's really tough to imagine they can come back.
The only thing I'm certain of in this next set is that Energy are probably going to be rooting for RivaL all the way.
Yeah,
because
yes.
This would be, I mean, the best possible scenario is
right.
RivaL taking this set win away from Obey here. So that way Energy can have a little bit more comfort space between themselves and Obey.
That's because Obey already has a victory. If Obey were to win, they would essentially tie with Energy and create some kind of clumps up there in Energy. They want to have that number 2 spot, a little room to breathe. I'm right there with you, Taco. So they might be the biggest RivaL fans here in this next set. We'll end up seeing how it's going to work. But it's a big one here. And I think that there's a chance that if this happened in summer, I would say this was easy for RivaL, but Obey are looking better, and more importantly, I think RivaL have had some struggles here, Taco, so far in fall.
It feels like both of these teams have shifted gears respectively, except one was in a positive swing, and the other was, well, we've seen what's been happening with RivaL over the past few weeks. They've really just had some identity issues, it almost feels like. I don't think that their compositions have really been as well thought out as usual. It feels like they're trying to go a little bit too far out there on the bizarre spectrum. And at times, it is showing some really promising moments throughout their sets, but for the most part, they've just ended up falling short.
Yeah, and I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head. There have been some moments where the lapses have come in a place where they don't normally from RivaL, and like the picks and bans, which is unusual for them. They've got Alpha Jackal out there doing a great job for them. They've got strong minds for the game as well, and usually that's one of those areas where they excel. But there have been a couple times where I think they've been caught off guard, where their composition looked like they might have lost in the planning phase. So that's one more thing that they need to adjust. I also want to see if they can get that jungle mid synergy back up. Ice and Deathwalker have looked excellent, but a big determining factor for whether or not they're winning their games is how does Wlfy look in that game.
And see, that's the other thing, too, because when you look at Obey, PrettyPriMe has been having the split of his career so far. This fall split has been phenomenal for Prime, and if he continues to bring that same sort of fire to this set, I have some very serious concerns here for RivaL in terms of just even managing to keep up.
And I think if you're RivaL, you can somewhat predict the route he's going. It's been largely on the back of these like immobile burst mages, I would say, for Prime so far. Zeus's, Pwash, those sorts of things come to mind as to what Prime has been kind of valuing lately. Even Vulcan to a certain extent, with really only backfire to move around. So maybe there's a chance that you can try and have Ice bully Prime. Don't let him get comfortable. He has very much been the engine for this different Obey that we've been seeing here lately.
And you can't even count out Twig either. I think that CaptainTwig has also been having a pretty fantastic split himself. He's done a great job as well, stretching himself to go very heavy utility based with a lot of these jungle pickups. And it doesn't matter whether he's going for the late game carry god or just a hyper carry in general. He's been playing with the team in mind, and I think that's something that's a little bit different as opposed to the Obey that we saw in spring and summer. It still felt like they were playing for themselves as opposed for each other, and now with the assistance of Twig and Prime, I think that things are starting to spread out a little bit more evenly.
I think there's a good chance that, like you said, we could be seeing a different Obey here, but this kind of feels like a potential turning point for them. Are they ready to be a top-end team? Well, we got a chance to find out. Picks and bans are ready for you. Game 1, let's get them up on the screen. RivaL going to be picking first. Obey will be right there behind them, obviously. There's no one else in line aside from those two going to be the ones trying to follow them up. But you mentioned a different look from their team. I think that iRaffer has also had a bit of a different look here in the fall split. I mean, I obviously don't know what the difference is, but I think he's been playing way better.
I think any performance compared to iRaffer spring and summer would be considered way better.
That's fair.
So there's that much to consider. But right now as well, Obey, I think Ataraxia has really stepped it up, which in turn has definitely helped to take off some of the pressure from iRaffer so that he's not constantly having to worry about his hunter over there in duo lane.
That should make things a little bit easier for him. So let's take a look at the picks and ban. Mage is already taken off the board from RivaL, and this is the right idea. The Pwash is one Prime has played well. You don't want to deal with Baron on Xaliea or on Prime, wherever that one goes. Obey, on the other hand, taking a look. I think those are both iceeicebaby bans, by the way. They want to get the Naja and the Odin out of there right now. That still leaves, though, the Erlang Shen, and right here, right away, both of their teams are putting, I think, their current best performers in a good spot. Ice for RivaL and Zeus for Athena.
Zeus Athena.
That's a good combo.
That's got to be it here. I would be okay.
That's
Chernobog's
strong
not,
too.
he's
Yeah,
not
I can't
bad.
hate that,
Okay,
yeah.
I can't get mad when the Chernobog is going to be the secondary. I was convinced it was going to be Athena just
Sure.
because she's probably one of the more heavily prioritized
Does RivaL have
gods
to
right
pick it here now, do you think?
It would be wise, especially with the acquisition of the Poseidon. I think that Athena is usually what goes hand in hand with Posey for Wlfy and Collis at least.
Yeah, and Collis has played this Athena really well. And can I say, perhaps we're still not giving my boy Collis enough credit. I feel like he has really been playing out of his mind. Summer, it comes to mind in particular, but really spring is the one where he turns around in their land performance, right? And really is sort of the catalyst for how much stronger they end up looking. He looks great in summer as well on their run towards the finals. And now he's got that Athena, perhaps his signature pick, I would say. Maybe Fafnir, you can make an argument for him. But this Athena, man, he plays it so well.
He's got a little bit of a breakup thing going on with Fafnir right now because he has been given a lot more loving towards his Athena, and for good reason. I think that RivaL are probably going to prioritize slows for this composition. That's usually the direction that they tend to head in whenever this Poseidon Athena wombo combo comes into effect.
Right.
My concern here, though, is I think Obey have done an excellent job in responding to those first 3 picks out of RivaL. Zeus Ultimate alone should be enough to deter Twig from being as aggressive as he might want to be with the Erlang. I think it could also prompt the Erlang to needing to pick up a blink, whether it's at the first relic choice or the secondary. I'm not too certain, but I do know that if RivaL aren't able to eliminate the Zeus within, I'd say 10 seconds or less, then the chances of the thunder and the lightning and all that good stuff and the burst damage from Zeus is going to be more than enough to shut down any team fight hopes.
Yeah, it'll be coming through for sure from that Zeus if they don't shut it down, as Sobek comes in to serve them up right to the Zeus and make life as easy for Prime as possible. And the Chernobog, I don't know why we're bearing the lead on that one, but Ataraxia is certainly going to have a good game on that. And I was going to ask you, Taco, the Apollo coming through. We've started to see Apollo, I think, as a response to Chernobog's rotation ability.
I'm surprised that I think that Jingwei is kind of just falling off a little bit just because of the fact that Apollo can actually directly fly from one side of the map to the next, similar to Living Nightmare, only at the cost of your own mana.
It has a nice impact when he arrives.
Usually by the time Chernobog is trying to utilize that Living Nightmare, you're probably hitting towards the 11 through 15 moment for a lot of these carries, and Apollo should have enough mana sustained by then to be able to effectively transition over into a team fight.
And this feels like a nice Twig pick there at the end, the Unbot to sort of facilitate for the rest of his team. So this certainly fits with the identity that Obey's been going with here in the fall, but is enough to win you over. Are you going to put your vote towards Obey, or maybe over there to RivaL? I know there's a lot of Fear the Reaper fans out there in chat, so certainly let us know what you're thinking in that mixer poll once you get that opportunity. And Taco, you know I got to ask you two here, are you leaning more towards Obey or RivaL in this close set?
That is a nasty composition for Obey.
Isn't it?
I like their space control. They have so much zoning in comparison to RivaL that I'm not sure RivaL are going to be able to get the execution off that they want in time.
It really does seem like they're very reliant on Wlfy to have a good performance on this Poseidon, I feel like, as well. So we'll see if they can make that happen here. I've said when he's on, they look unbeatable, and sometimes when he's off, he's not. We'll see what he can do here in this game. RivaL up against Obey. Let's get it started.
Thanks a lot, John Finch. Your favorite Paladins caster here, Tom Battinger. Going to be teaming up with Anatoly for this one. RivaL versus Obey. This is interesting because I feel like in the beginning of the split, you might not have said that this is going to be an exciting game, right? You think RivaL's much better than Obey. And then in the middle of the split, well, now I think RivaL have come down a peg, and Obey are kind of an even matchup.
Obey definitely stepping it up. It was Obey beating out RivaL in week number 1, and RivaL have got the better end of Obey in all 4 sets between spring and summer, but already starting things off very spicy in this duo lane.
Uh-oh, iRaffer in trouble. Shell has to be popped nice and early. Oops. RivaL in this lane, kind of wrestling control. Collis very healthy, so is Ataraxia.
It's the difference between these hunters. That Audacity passive from Vote, allowing more DPS despite iRaffer playing this Amaterasu. A lot of it also has to come to the fact that iRaffer didn't go for the aura, so that's not augmenting the physical power out of Ataraxia.
Yeah, he's just going for the straight up damage so far. Love to see PrettyPriMe on the Zeus, man. This is where Obey really hits their stride. I think Obey have gotten better in the fall split, and RivaL have fallen down a peg, which is kind of what I was getting at before. A nice even matchup here. And Prime on the Zeus, man. This is one of my favorite. No aggro, no jokes here. But I think Prime on the Zeus is one of my favorite kind of player combinations. It's been a long time since PrettyPriMe was the Vulcan. Now,
Sure.
I look at him as the Zeus man.
There's something about immobile mages that he just heavily prefers,
Yeah.
whether it's the Vulcan, Zeus, even the Outposh from time to time. He's not your typical Thoth or Morrigan main, which is still fine and dandy considering that Zeus is still very viable in the meta where you're trying to get off this jungle control team fights, and that ultimate certainly providing that punch.
Yeah, not only does it control jungle area, it also will just rush down objectives. It's Zeus is the man.
When you have characters like Athena, Chulainn, and Erlang Shen diving you, Zeus can be helpful to, you know, bail yourself out, because the best form of peel at times could be killing them before they kill you.
Possibly, and that's exactly what he tries to do. Although, if you saw him and Aggro talking on Twitter, it's about making him squirm with the detonate, waiting for the last second before you pull the trucker horn, and then watching double kill show up on your screen. That's the Zeus juice right there.
PrettyPriMe has been known to be MVP from times, but other players from Obey Alliance have stepped up for sure. Xaliea has kind of faltered at times, but now doing a good job in this laning phase against the Chulainn, specifically Deathwalker's Chulainn, that's known to be aggressive. And this is with the start of the Guardian's Blessing. A lot of it also comes to Deathwalker's interesting build, trying to rush a Void Shield. Or Shifter Shield, sorry.
Yeah, I think we might even see. I think we can even see the Berserker Shield.
Off of this is going to be the Shifter
Shield.
Yeah,
right?
Because the Berserker Shield is that bridge item.
Right. DW now getting his blue buff, able to come back in lane. And yeah, I agree with you. Xaliea has been a big part of this Obey resurgence, if you will. I had a longer piece on it, but essentially I think Xaliea had to relearn the solo lane as he came back to the game. When he was dominant, it was a very different position. And so now I think he's kind of become accustomed to it over the course of the year. And now here in the fall split, he is very much just a regular old solo lane that we've seen in the Pro League. And I'll even take it a step further and say I think he's one of the better ones as well.
Playing still the traditional style of the Sobek. Not really much has changed whatsoever from his side. Basically trying to control a lot of these team fights in the later stages. Deathwalker finishing off the Shifter Shield already is giving him that huge physical power spike that he really needs. Sitting at 70 power this early on. And when you're dealing with, let's say, the physical side of CaptainTwig's, you're not necessarily dealing with Xalea's damage, unfortunately. This side I'm only giving you a one side of that stats.
Sure, but it's stupid offensive, right?
Yeah, but like you're only getting the 35 magical protection once you're under 50% health, right? So Xaliea can easily poke him down and whittle him out to the point that Deathwalker might have to consistently back, and with his teleport still on cooldown for 150 seconds, could be a little bit dicey. One gank from CaptainTwig with the Fear No Evil could spell Deathwalker's demise.
See, I don't even think Deathwalker is thinking about the defensive element of this item. I think this is straight up because he wants to start offensive. This might be a transcendence if he had a mana-based character.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's where I'm thinking he's headed with this item.
So I'm looking at it as more of a ejecto button, where he wants the damage, but he needs that safety net, where if things do go south once he dives, that extra protections could bail him out of a sticky situation.
You're certainly going to take that element of the item. Ultimate from Xaliea as he looks to defend his own blue buff. Fails. No, it's going to be CaptainTwig actually get it with the overhand smash, but everybody from RivaL's here. Kraken is off the mark. Oh, that one. Some deja vu right there for Wlfy. Misplaced Kraken, and PrettyPriMe making him squirm. Pops it with the detonate. Down goes one. It's a one for none. Obey Alliance with the first blood. iRaffer's not going to chase down Kalos.
No, definitely not under that tier 1 tower. Getting their own blue buff, finding the kill, more importantly, giving it to PrettyPriMe. Now ahead of the race in the Book of Thoth stacks, whereas Wlfy was saving up gold for it, but realizes, all right, it's time for Shoes to focus. He wants the mobility to just out-rotate PrettyPriMe. There's different power spikes now. And I think Wlfy will have the power spike for the next 2 minutes, but once PrettyPriMe catches up in the boots department, the stacks are going to definitely show the differences.
I really like iRaffer when he's playing on these warriors. I think his play style allows him to be a little bit more pushy when it comes to playing the warrior. You saw him by himself at the enemy XP camp, just kind of occupying space, annoying the opposition. I think it's a nice look for what he wants to do here.
Chalice in a little bit of trouble, but no real ultimates available. It's CaptainTwig that's going to be in trouble now. Shell going to come through. Vote with a great rotation. They're not done yet.
Oh!
RivaL, little low.
He's able to get on out. 0 mana, though, so he's not going to be able to spam that aura. iCeicebaby and Wlfy looking to cut him off up the top. Deathwalker going to stay in lane. Xaliea controlling that player. And iRaffer going to be able to be safe and sound behind the tower. Wonderful play there from the support. Meanwhile, Wlfy takes down his direct opposition, puts PrettyPriMe in the ground with a Kraken right in the middle lane.
No beads available for PrettyPriMe. It was down for about 30 seconds off of that last little skirmish in the mid lane. And as a result, getting revenge now is Wlfy. Should be able to catch up with the Book-a-Thoth momentarily. Looking at iCeicebaby, playing this Erlang Shen, not really his known style to go to, but rushing the Berserker shield before the boots.
Interesting. Solo lane, I love this. Jungle, honestly, I know he's got movement speed by way of the mink and his animals. He can kind of maneuver around the jungle that way, but you want to use that cooldown for fighting. And this is an old school mentality, I suppose, but I actually think it's even more prevalent here in Season 5. I think the most important thing early in the jungle is movement speed. More so than any stat that your character could need. Your ability to hold the fight is different.
Holding the fight is CaptainTwig in the mid lane, forcing Calus to back on now. PrettyPrime's detonate, not going to seal the deal onto the kill for Calus. And going back to that conversation, the whole mobility aspect of iCeicebaby, I agree with you.
I think it's more important to get to the fight than do anything else.
But look at this, like iCeicebaby's going to get slow because of that chain lightning. There's a different style sometimes where if you're looking for the counter engages, it's not a bad idea to get the power spike of Berserker Shield. Put Obey Alliance in a false sense of security where they're going to be the ones aggressing, and then iCeicebaby comes in with a hot cleanup. His basic attacks keeps him up alive because you don't need to run a marathon with this build. You just need to run that 400-meter dash.
Wouldn't the movement speed be better if you're running a sprint?
No.
I'm messing with your analogy.
Sure.
You had fantastic analysis.
I probably could have referenced that a little bit better.
I'm sorry.
Because the mink is going to give him that burst movement speed.
Right,
anyway.
yeah. No, I'm just being a not nice person. I get where you're coming from. Totally, as always, on point with the analysis. But yeah, no, I mean, I even look at Talaria boots as an underpurchased item. I, for one, think it's much more important because we talk a lot about how presence alone can change a team fight. Just having a player in lane or near on a ward will dissuade teams from doing X, Y, Z. I think if you're able to get to the team fight and do less, it doesn't matter if you do 2 million DPS if you are too slow to actually apply that DPS.
Very true.
So I don't mind players doing a little bit less if they can actually show up. iRaffer right now forcing the ultimate to get out of the cripple. Calus stunned down. PrettyPriMe dropping the ultimate, looking for icebaby. And PrettyPriMe puts him in the ground. And that's the second kill for Z-Man Senior in the middle.
A solo kill as Vote trying to make the rotation happen. You love this card.
I love this.
Shoutouts to the kart racing game.
Who used it yesterday? Baskin?
Yes.
Dude, every time I see that Smite car, I die laughing. Deathwalker trying to avoid dying in any way, shape, or form.
I think he's guaranteed down there. Yep.
Instead, it's Xaliea who's going to be laughing, taking down his lane opponent.
No Kraken available, but man, is he packing a punch. Only level 9. Uses his mobility. Maybe Calus can find a taunt here.
Yeah, it's a double taunt right into some of the damage. No, can't find the cooldowns.
Maybe 1 or 2 seconds were remaining off of that taunt. That needs to be communicated. Calus should have held onto his taunt for maybe another second. He saw red in his eyes. Once he dashed in, he's got the perfect double taunt, but without the whirlpool or the knockback from the title search, that taunt becomes just less impactful.
Exactly, and this is early on, but I think level 10, level 8, you could dive the tower for one shot because that's how much you're going to wind up taking.
Could have been the case, but better safe than sorry where anything goes. Some counter rotations are a little bit scary at this point. Wlfy not going to be looked at by either team, and a relatively action-packed one we got here, Tom. 5 kills in 11 minutes, and still a lot of dropped opportunities between these two.
Yeah, neck and neck. Unlike last one, if this is the first match you're checking out, Energy took on Dignitas. And it sounds like a nice even matchup, but quite a different story. Energy takes that one 2-0 rather easily. Shout out to Adapting, looking like adapting from 2 years ago. Just out of control. Right now, it's Obey Alliance that are kind of running things as far as the charts are concerned. They're up about 1,000 gold, although that's nothing to really hang your hat on. PrettyPriMe and Xaliea have been really bringing the damage.
And outside this Hunter differences, they're dominating the experience charts. Solo laner, just now Deathwalker hits level 11. Xaliea has about a half a level lead. Also about a half level lead going to CaptainTwig. Callus is kind of holding his own. Taunts and Raffer could commit it if they really wanted to on the Kraken just to bully him away, but I don't know if that would have been a kill.
We've been watching Wlfy really hold this Kraken.
I don't mind it. Hardware Amulet provides a lot of magical defense. Before you get true penetration available, I don't think Wlfy's Kraken would have sealed the deal.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea to hold the Kraken, because the Kraken is what's going to keep the Gold Fury fights relevant, right? The Kraken goes on cooldown, then I think we see Obey Alliance kind of shift over to that Gold Fury area and kind of look for a team fight, especially if they have Zeus and he's not going to be using his ult in that scenario anyway.
Very true.
So that's definitely a scenario that Team RivaL are aware of, and I think that's why the call is to... And keep in mind, I don't think it's Wlfy not pushing his button. I think it's a team call to not use the Kraken.
There's just a more valuable moment in time. 12.5 minutes in. One bad ultimate even could allow Obey Alliance to force a Gold Fury 5-on-5, and Raffer has been known to kind of be that instigator, so he's willing to just cross into the mid lane without looking both ways on the street to bait out that tactic. He has the Shell available to him, and if you're trading Shell for a Kraken, that's not too shabby because the rest of your teammates can capitalize.
Dual lane returning here. Ataraxia has been on the Chernobog. And I love the approach or the advent of Apollo, the reemergence of the other Global Hunter, the original Global Hunter. I love that players are finally going to him as an answer to Chernobog. Why do you think it took so long?
I think that they were just worried about his laning presence, worried about a gank as iceicebaby blinks right before the Fear No Evil, but they're not done yet. RivaL are turning this one around.
Iceice already used the taunt as well, so he's going to be healing up in the middle of this team fight. Ataraxia in some trouble, but iceice not going to be able to turn it around. Raxia gets the basic, but Wlfy, on the good side of the double kill, takes down the Welsh Hunter. Deathwalker bringing CaptainTwig back to the grave, and RivaL looking at the objective right about now. Gold Fury halfway down, and nobody in an Obey jersey.
Oh no, Raffer's dash got caught out. It's up to Xaliea to get here to steal. 1 versus 4. Wlfy is going to prevent the pluck with a beautiful whirlpool.
That right there is why aggro calls Poseidon a control mage. The ability to just lock the door. Sobek can't take the damage and walk through that. He can't just dash through it because it's a cripple. He's just screwed. Just complete great zone from your mid lane mage. Wlfy's able to execute that. Gold Fury to him and his team.
The first real objective of the game. 14 minutes in, there were 3 factors that allowed RivaL to get that so successfully. Obviously, the first one was dodging the Fear No Evil, with iceicebaby turning that around. Second one was the bees being forced on Ataraxia, not even 30 seconds earlier to the prompt. And then the third one was the fact that Xaliea was just in no man's land, still in the solo lane. Deathwalker made the rotation with the teleport. And these are the differences between the 2 cooldowns you're seeing on your screen.
Yeah, that's a very big part of what it is to be in that solo lane. Everybody's always taking mind of relic cooldowns, but that teleport's really big. RivaL probably pull that objective at the time that they do because of the teleport differential.
CaptainTwig gets taunted in, but no real follow-up. Raffer was doing a good job zoning on the opposite end. Callus actually is going to take a bunch of damage. Going for an interesting build now. Sovereignty after the Oni's garb. Wanting to try to mitigate a lot of the damage, knowing when you dash in, you're going to be around several members.
Interesting choice of items here are coming out from the Poseidon player. Rocking the Soul Reaver, which is a very different item these days.
So Soul Reaver is definitely a bursty item, but when you're lacking the penetration, you're not really going to be killing Raffer anytime soon. But that's okay if you're finding targets onto PrettyPriMe, CaptainTwig, or Ataraxia instead.
Pyromancer the target right now.
Or Xaliea.
Xaliea was once there. but no longer going to be a part of the conversation.
No real magical defense to speak of. Look at his build. Breastplate of Valor, Jade Emperor's Crown. He's really worried more about iCeicebaby,
Right.
Deathwalker, and Vote than he is for Wlfy.
Yeah, it's been a nice look there so far, but up in the sky, Smite Car going to be landing on CaptainTwig. The defensive ultimate comes out, and Vote's able to take care of him nonetheless. iRaffer relatively low, and Kala's taking some damage from Prime. Ice and Vote thinking about it. The ping's coming out.
They're going to do it.
Yeah, Prime has no idea. Now he does. Here comes the Athena ultimate for the protection. Down comes the Goomba stop, but Ice is going to be greeted by Ataraxia. PrettyPriMe and the Hunter make the rotation. RivaL thought they were sneaky, but they get punished for their transgression.
And Deathwalker wasn't there. They didn't really abuse the 5-on-4 while Xaliea was still dead. A missed opportunity out of RivaL, and it looked like Obey actually knew that was about to happen. CaptainTwig instantly popping the beads, instantly dropping his ultimate before the beads even, and that separation between those two diving the backline out of RivaL versus where Wlfy was at the bottom of the tower couldn't allow for follow-up. The tidal surge was just out of range.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from Obey Alliance's reaction speed, but I think that I think I did kind of get that wrong. I think Obey knew the whole time that RivaL was just sitting around the corner.
The ultimate from Ataraxia was without any hesitation.
Yeah.
He got into the mid lane just to save out PrettyPriMe, his long, loving Titan mid laner.
Sometimes it's fun watching yeah, we'll walk into the trap because we know what's going on, and that's exactly how that happened. Obey Alliance just pretended to be blind and took advantage of the opportunity.
And honestly, under the shelter of the Tier 1 tower, that's probably the best place they could have fought, because if they're trying to go back up north to the Tier 2 tower, well, two things are going to happen. Either RivaL are going to force the fight between the towers where there is no tower shots,
right,
or number two, they allow them to retreat under the Tier 2 tower, and then RivaL get 500 gold for demolishing that low health tower.
Well, the Tier 1 tower is going to be demolished on the right side. Deathwalker takes care of it. iceicebaby, on the other hand, kind of zoning out Xaliea. So the loss of the Obey tower on the right side puts about a 3,500 gold lead in the pockets of Team RivaL at the moment. Look at that, exactly a 3,500 gold lead.
Nice.
You're welcome, Toli.
Nice. Very well done so far out of RivaL, and they really desperately need this victory. They need all the victories they can get, because this is, surprising to say, an uncharacteristic RivaL performance thus far in the fall split.
Oh, without a doubt. iRaffer going to be choked up, though. The Kraken coming out, bringing him down to 10%. Is there a member to kill him off, though? The answer is no. iceeicebaby can't penetrate the backline. Votes in the sky. Gonna land? No. Thought about it twice. Coming back to the squad. Look at that little card.
Golfier's coming up, and that's where Vote's going to go right on in. Without his ultimate, without Wlfy's ultimate, importantly, this could be a little tricky. I think Obey has some certainly steal potential. Maybe at least force a fight.
Well, CaptainTwig's ultimate is down, so he's not going to be able to use that. This is going to be RivaL's objective nice and easy. And that's a good call from Vote to get away from chasing the kill and just look for the objective as his team pushes the Tier 1 tower. RivaL just pushing themselves up even more so. About a 5,000 gold lead at the moment.
Living Nightmare from Ataraxia even being expended. Thinking about the chase down potential, Xaliea was looking like he was looking for a block around that corner, but he had to fall back. The rest of Obey Alliance are just spectators this game, it seems.
Yeah, they just haven't been too involved. 5 kills in total, and 4 for the Hunter, 3. I don't know.
They're getting the kills, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it's counter engages. They're not really the ones asserting themselves as the pace setters. Whereas RivaL are committing between Tier 1, Tier 2. They're, overextending to a point where they know what they can and can't get away with, and getting 2 Gold Furies as the result 20 minutes in.
RivaL's definitely leading the dance for sure. Obey is kind of following suit, and whether or not that's the way to win the game, I mean, is a different story. I think we have seen teams win with a defensive mindset. And I think when you're playing with the Zeus, that's kind of, you start off the game just trying to take advantage of everybody, and if you're not able to amass a lead, then I think you go into sort of hibernation's the wrong term, but just sort of isolationism. Head down, farm up, and then either you can out Zeus the player later on if you take advantage, if you are able to usurp them in the experience department, or if that's not the case, you just play defense. And when you look at Obey's draft right here, Fear No Evil, Lightning Storm, Chernobog as well. These are all fantastic characters to sit on a Phoenix and defend that way.
Very true, especially with a blink from CaptainTwig. No blink at Xaliea to look for those surprise pluck engagements, but I don't necessarily mind that considering iRaffer has the horrific emblem for the slowdown potential, for the damage mitigation that he's about to ensue. But RivaL yet again cleanly securing another objective.
And just like that, RivaL continue to push their lead. Play Alliance now on the bad end of things. iRaffer loses half of his life bar.
This is the difference between the magical defense out of iRaffer versus the magical defense from Xaliea. We saw Xaliea get blown up before picking up the Void Stone, not having any magical defense to really speak about, whereas iRaffer is fully committed to that Heartwood Amulet, even going for another Kusari.
iRaffer now again surrounded. He's going to be grouped up and just collapsed on. Gosh, that one looked easy.
It definitely did.
That was just RivaL saying, what up, iRaffer?
The blink from CaptainTwig. Wlfy is in the middle of everything, but so is Ataraxia.
Down goes nobody just yet, but the taunt is good and could set up Ataraxia, but the Aegis is one better. Wlfy goes down, and iCeicebaby is going to take care of the Hunter. It's a 2-for-2 so far as CaptainTwig gets involved, but the Mage cleaning up. PrettyPriMe, as usual, picking up another one.
It's because Vote wasn't there. His ultimate not even being used, and not going to go for the Phoenix. He could have got some tower shots, I guess. Just going to respect the back on out. No real buffs to strip of. Neither team can go in for the Fire Giant. A 2-for-3 at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm very curious as to why he didn't want to go into the Phoenix as well.
I guess the call was that the rest of Obey Alliance backed. At most, he would have gotten 4 Phoenix shots off, and there weren't any Gladiator minions to tank that Phoenix, so getting one shot by every single Phoenix shot would have been those little small melee minions. Not enough time for this Apollo to burn down the objective.
Well, might be enough time for Obey to burn down the Fire Giant. Nobody is here. Nobody at all from Team RivaL are here. Deathwalker's finally going to make his way in here. Have HP on the objective. There's a flip backwards. Deathwalker can use the fish to jump on in. Nice taunt from the Athena. And that might have just been the worst thing you could have done there.
Yep.
Oh, no. That's a misplay.
Xaliea.
Oh, Xaliea. He delivered the assassin to his team.
That's not what you want to have happen. iRaffer takes out at least Deathwalker in response. Dropped Fire Giant. 1-for-1 at the end of the day. But man, PrettyPriMe thanking his lucky stars that he got out of that one.
And now Team RivaL going to look for the Fire Giant. Likely get it as well.
Oh, Xaliea, though, is in the back line. He teleported in. Nice taunt. Kraken coming through. And Xaliea getting put back in the water.
Oh, man. Ataraxia now in trouble as Team RivaL sort of collapsed on the Hunter. He's going to be down before he's out. iCeicebaby gets the double kill.
What just happened? RivaL cleaning on up. 3 free kills out of nowhere. Obey Alliance just seemed too discombobulated.
Yeah, they weren't able to really find themselves in the correct spot and the correct ranks. And Team RivaL were able to look for the Fire Giant. I don't know if I can say they didn't even want to pull this. This was Obey kind of forcing their hand.
They
like,
definitely,
I guess we'll go for it.
They definitely did not want to pull the Fire Giant with RivaL. They were like, oh, okay, so we killed out one player. Yeah, we lost Deathwalker alongside, but everyone had to back. PrettyPriMe was just non-existent after having to back with the red health. Xaliea coming on in from the backside. If that ward was just a little bit more south to give him some more leeway, I think he could have made the difference to stop that Fire Giant.
Certainly something to think about. 2, 2, and 3 for the solo lane Crocodile right now.
And honestly, Xaliea, even despite having Void Stone and Pestilence, is really getting blown up from Wlfy's build. This Obsidian Shard was the perfect timing. And Xaliea might even have to consider Bulwark of Hope, giving himself that health shield.
Yeah, the Bulwark of Hope has been a very infrequently purchased item, but when it works, it really does work. Is it just for abilities like Kraken?
It's not necessarily for all the abilities like the Burst Mages, because there's several items you can go for that, but it's about being able to give you that secondary life. You're either thinking of Mantle of Discord, right, for the little miniature Geb shield. You're thinking of Spirit's Robe to give you the damage mitigation, or the extra health could synergize even further if you were to go for, let's say, a meditation, but that's not going to be the case today.
right now, 25 minutes in. About to be 26. Team RivaL with a disgusting lead at the moment, frankly.
13,000 gold.
Anytime I see more than 10K, Tolly, that's my sort of, woof. That's my big, oh.
That's where your finger
moment.
gets closer and closer to that button.
The F6 button. Obey Alliance right now. I don't think they're in surrender territory because, like I said, their composition really lends itself to defending wonderfully. iRaffer with the auras, Prime with the giant you can't walk here circle, CaptainTwig with another giant you can't walk here circle, which, by the way, is going to push you closer to the team if you place it correctly. Even Xaliea has a large amount of displacement, which is going to help Obey kind of play defense. So I don't see a world right now with this composition where Obey even thinks about that. Not that you were bringing that up, but just putting that out there. I don't think this is
iRaffer gets taunted into the Kraken shell. Going to buy him a moment. CaptainTwig hitting all 5 members with the Fear No Evil. Just having to scatter away like roaches is RivaL after all the damage out of PrettyPriMe.
Yeah, they're so low. RivaL can't really just even come back. Can't really wait for that HP 5 by way of the Fire Giant either. So they're just going to have to keep on keeping on. Pyromancer going to be picking up here, and likely after that we see a face, we see a back, and then a return to the Phoenixes.
Surprised that they went on iRaffer the way they did there, honestly. You would think that they would keep going on Xaliea, noticing how successful they have been in the past, killing him 2 times, whereas iRaffer has survived 2 times off of the ultimate out of Wlfy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that despite the fact that they're having trouble killing iRaffer, he's still the person they need to focus on. If iRaffer is dead or otherwise occupied, he's not going to be able to use the ultimate for initiation. Hopefully, for RivaL, from their perspective, hopefully they're able to chase out the cooldown of the ultimate. He doesn't necessarily have beads on him whatsoever. So iRaffer, if he's controlled by Team RivaL, it might be a little bit more effective with or without the kill.
That's a good point. Dazzling offensive, a lot more intimidating than lurking in the water.
Yeah.
As long as you have sprint available from Callus, you should be able to outpace that ultimate for at least the moment. Whereas that dazzling offensive, you can charge it up on the melee, then use it on the back line. Callus yet again with the taunt engage, but it's all a little bit of a bait, not going to fully commit.
Yeah, just testing the waters, want to see what kind of personality these players have.
Also getting Mad Guy's Cloak out of CaptainTwig. That was the goal.
Obey Alliance here on their defensive set. Fire Giant has worn off for Team RivaL. So from that sound, doesn't look like RivaL really want to fight, but they're almost 20,000 gold up. I don't care if you have a Fire Giant or not. Take these fights.
With 45 seconds remaining, I don't blame RivaL slowing it down, setting up an ambush while they're still waiting out. Xaliea barely able to narrowly avoid that taunt. And yeah, with RivaL having this kind of a lead, they're just going to play it safe. We've seen Dignitas do the same thing against Obey Alliance, I believe, last week, where the games lasted like 50 somewhat minutes.
Yeah.
And this is because maybe it's just Obey's weakness, where they have a certain point in the game that they can come back, and as long as you really put it to the point of no return,
Sure.
then teams can close it out against Obey.
It's possible. For me, Obey, I haven't really seen anything particularly, like that. I don't know if it's they lose in the late game or whatnot. I see that they're generally successful when they kind of feed PrettyPriMe, and I think they've been trying to do that. I think this is really just more of a story about Team RivaL doing what we complained about RivaL not doing earlier in the week. RivaL had lost kind of miserably earlier on in the week, and a lot of the conversation that Ryan and I had on the broadcast, is the fact that RivaL became sort of rich and famous, right? Their claim to fame was being this team unit.
Yep.
And then as time went on, they got very, very good, and that team unit maintained. But towards the end of Season 4 and the beginning of Season 5, they stopped winning as a team in general. Sometimes they did, sure, but generally speaking, they moved away from the team wins and more towards just Ice or Wlfy or Deathwalker doing the hard carry for the squad. And I think that kind of hurt RivaL's whole thing. The whole mentality, the whole team.
I think that they still have it in them, the way they've been playing this game at least.
Well, so for me, it just looked so miserable because it was a deviation from what we're used to expect out of Team RivaL. And because of that, perhaps, or maybe for a different reason, the overall skill level seemed to have slipped. Now here, Team RivaL, they're doing what Obey did. Where Obey tried a whole bunch of stuff and said, you know what works? We give Batz to CaptainTwig, and we give Zeus to PrettyPriMe. That's been working for years, so why not? RivaL, I think, are doing the same thing, where they're just now realizing totally that, you know what? We were kind of killing it when we were, focusing and a little bit more interactive with each other and looking for the team win instead of the individual highlight reel. And because of that different approach, I think that's why RivaL looks so much different in this game.
And RivaL going to do a team strategy by splitting up the map. 3-1-1. Vote in the right side solo. Up in the mid is iCeicebaby on the Erlang. Shen is going to force something down the left side with Deathwalker zoning out PrettyPriMe.
And iRaffer uses the ultimate. Kalis gets stunned, but that's about it. Now Kalis looking for the dash. Always ready. Apollo in the sky. PS. Apollo putting CaptainTwig underneath the pavement. And that's going to be a kill for the Hunter. Vote now running underneath the middle lane tower. Vote's in trouble. And PrettyPriMe going to cut down iCeicebaby. But Vote's still alive.
Deathwalker going to get zoned away from Xaliea. PrettyPriMe is running away, but Kalis gets him with a reach.
Oh, Vote has to run out of here. Xaliea lurking. He's not going to be able to find much here. Kraken right on top of Xaliea. And the last hit goes to Vote. 5 kills without a death. 5-0-6. And Ataraxia is going to be taken care of as well. The Whirlpool right for the Salmon to flip right into. And with iRaffer left to play defense, Toli, this is going to be game number 1.
A clean deicide, only losing iCeicebaby 32 minutes into the game. And RivaL take out Obey Alliance in the very first game of this best-of-3 set.
20-10 as well, and about a 20,000 gold lead.
Dominating performance towards the end. It took a little bit of time to get the ball rolling, but those 2 gold Furies, the Pyromancer, being able to use the pluck from Xaliea, from Deathwalker, into the Defender of Olympus, diving everybody, stopping Obey right in their tracks of that Fire Giant attempt.
And again, looking at this one, I mean, honestly, what I saw here was a return to the style that put RivaL on the map. They moved away from just trusting iCeice and moved away from just trusting Deathwalker. And it's kind of funny, because I'm going to ask you guys who the MVP was, and I think it's more difficult in this game to really pick one than it has been for a while for Team RivaL, and that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, that middle Phoenix engagement was an interesting one because it was iCeicebaby winning the 1v1 initially, baiting out the ultimate from CaptainTwig, and that's why Vote was able to use his ultimate from the solo side and clean up the kill. We didn't really see too much on the camera there, but that was important 2-part play to set the rest of the victory.
Again, I can't reiterate how much more I like this Team RivaL than the RivaL that we've been gifted towards the bigger part of the fall split. We see them try different approaches and this, that, or a third, and I applaud the creativity and the idea to kind of shake things up. You can't stay in the same lane forever, but at the same time, you have to identify what your identity is as a team. You have to figure out what initially got you the wins. RivaL remembering their roots. Take game number 1. Let's break it down on the desk.
And break it down we shall. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Totally Finch and Taco here. And RivaL coming out with a very important win, but their job is only half done. Taco, what was it that stuck out for you in that game one that really set RivaL apart?
Things were a little bit shaky at the start, and there were so many back and forth team fight engagements. At one point, it looked as though Obey were about to have the upper hand right around that Fire Giant pit. They actually were able to strike first, and I remember PrettyPriMe doing an excellent job finding a detonate onto 2, getting some pretty big cleanup kills there, but then RivaL immediately answered back with not only pulling the Fire Giant, but managing to somehow throw Obey for a loop there, and I believe it was 3-4 picks that RivaL ended up getting by the end of it all, and it kind of just started off with Kalis actually managing to find or helping to set up a pick onto iRaffer, I believe, initially, and then from that point forward, it just felt like RivaL has had guaranteed control of the match. Vote did a great job with his map awareness on the Apollo. Despite Ataraxia having Living Nightmare, Vote was doing a great job making sure to keep up with his rotations.
Yeah, man, Vote really did a great job in this game. It was a really big impact out of the Apollo, more than I expected. I said we're going to need to see a big game out of Wlfy, and we got that big game out from Wlfy as well, nearly matching Prime in the terms of damage, but the one who kind of stood above everyone else here in this match was Kalis on that Athena, man. I mean, he just always seems to find a way to get it done for this team, selected as the MVP by those out there in Mixer Chat, and I think this one makes some sense to me as well. I mean, the taunts were instrumental. He was even providing a little bit of damage there too, not a ton, but certainly some. Defender of Olympus to save some of his teams when they need him. I mean, call us on Athena, man. It's starting to become a thing.
It wasn't too long ago, Finch, where if you asked anybody from EU SPL, what do you think about RivaL and Athena, they would all say the same thing. Never let RivaL get Athena.
Yeah.
It's kind of like letting Chariot have Athena in a sense, or you just don't want to take the risk. You know how proficient these players are with this god. Why put yourself at that little bit of a handicap? And for Obey, I understand. They just took a little bit of a risk versus reward scenario here, and it didn't pan out in their favor. I do think that there are a lot of promising moments for Obey throughout this match, despite them having lost it by the end. And I wasn't fully sold on the RivaL victory there. It was really back and forth for me, Finch.
It was definitely close. I think Prime impressed on the Zeus, right? I mean, as we expect him to. It's one of those picks that he just kind of stands out on. So I think even though they lost, they can still say, hey, we can give Prime the Zeus again. We just need a little bit more support around him, maybe not fall behind early on and kind of limit what we can do